Now I'd like to take introduce the next keynote speaker for this evening. Tracy Dallaire is here to talk about a great topic, cyber resilience, surviving and thriving. I think this is going to resonate with all of you. Tracy is the inaugural Director of Information Security Services at McMaster University. She is a leader in cybersecurity and information security and digital strategist. In this newly created position, Tracy is developing and leading an information technology roadmap for the institution as part of the McMaster IT strategic plan. Tracy is also leading the institution's IT security team as a member of the AVP and CTO leadership team. With 25 years of public sector experience, Tracy worked at eHealth Ontario as their Chief Audit, Risk and Compliance Officer, and previously held roles in provincial government. Tracy has a BA in Political Science from the University of Western Ontario, a Master's in Public Policy and Public Administration from Concordia. She is actively involved in promoting STEM and information security as an academic and career path as a member of a number of women technology initiatives. Please give Tracy a warm welcome to the stage.
Well, hello everybody. Can you hear me? Great. Okay. Well, thanks for having me tonight. It's been great to see so many familiar faces. So it brings warmth to my heart. So yeah, I'm here today to talk about cyber resilience. This is probably lots, we're all in the same community, so it's probably lots you already know, but I'm going to share my perspectives and then round it out with a little bit of a call to action of maybe some of the practical, tangible things we can do as a community coming out of tonight. So it was a real honor and privilege when I was asked to come speak tonight. These are conversations I belabor when anybody will listen to me of the importance of these kinds of communities coming together. So thank you to the organizers and the advisory board from NIST. Thanks for having me here and having this community together. So we all work hard to survive, and I really think that we can thrive. And so what I want to talk about is this rapidly changing environment that we're in. I feel like it's on steroids. Our current threat landscape and some of the things I'm seeing and observing from my peers and colleagues, some of the things we've experienced ourselves. And then how can we chart a course forward? As we leave tonight after this great dinner, we spent some time together, what are some of the things we could do as a community to chart our course together? And then not just survive, but thrive, and thrive as a community. We each go back into our own organizations, and what I think is really, really critical is we work together as a community. We're only as strong as the weakest link, and threat actors don't distinguish between this organization and you work over in that organization. They find a vulnerability, they go after it wherever they can get to. So I think we have a lot of opportunities. Canada is such a great country. We have great communities we live and work in, and having a stable environment in which you can work, have fun, play, learn, do business is vital. So a little bit about me. I'm probably a bit of the odd duckling sometimes. As you heard in the introduction, I come from a really varied background. I joined McMaster University during COVID in the middle of the pandemic. Left Mohawk College. I was at a few other places before that in 2020. So it's been just almost 4 years. And I was the inaugural director for information security brought in. And I've been in the trenches with some of the folks here as we work through our own challenges and cyber events. Built a roadmap. We are implementing that roadmap. We're almost done. And but there's still work to do, and work continues. And I'm looking to this community to keep working with as we work to continuously improve and mature, not just as an institution on our own, but as a sector and a community. I've been in the government for a long time. I've been in different kinds of roles, governance, risk, compliance. So I did audit, risk, and compliance a long time. And people are like, well, why wouldn't you just stay in that? I'm like, but I'm tired of it. I want to do something different. So, and in that area, I got really interested in cyber, doing forensic auditing. Believe it or not, there's a lot of parallels and connections and ways that we protect in the Ontario government citizens from wrongdoing, identity theft, criminal organized crime activity. And I spent a lot of time building cyber forensics in the Ontario government and parlayed that into working now in higher ed and protecting our higher education community. So with that, I'll talk just briefly about McMaster. If folks don't know, McMaster's in Hamilton, Ontario, just down the road. We are considered kind of a medium to bigger size institution. I won't talk about the stats, you can see them up there. We do punch above our weight significantly in research. So we're up there with U of T, University of British Columbia, some of the big players, McGill, and we do partner. I do have some higher ed colleagues here from colleges and universities, and they know very well too. We work across. And so MAC, you might have heard them a lot in the news, especially during COVID, where we did DNA sequencing that supported research around vaccinations. We run a nuclear facility, so anybody who knows anybody with any kind of cancer diagnosis, cancer treatment, those radioactive isotopes come from MAC. Any airplane that flies, it's been tested in our nuclear facility in some way for airworthiness. So it's a really interesting, fascinating place, and believe it or not, is the target as well for threat actors. So with that, so the environment, I want to talk about the environment in two respects. One is the digital environment, and then one is this global environment that we're in. And I put sort of four corners here. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm moving a little bit. So I think we're all confronting a rapidly changing and evolving digital environment. I saw this going into COVID, when I was at Mohawk working on augmented virtual reality, AI, machine learning, IoT innovations and partnerships. And then we went through COVID, we all went remote, businesses went remote, workforce is still there, and we're still figuring our way out. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, I kind of put it all in that bucket up here. And it's dramatically changed the way we're already starting to think about teaching, learning, working, protecting ourselves. Threat actors certainly are taking advantage of AI tools in their exploits. And we're seeing that with really unique targeted spear phishing campaigns, spoofing campaigns, deep fakes, and we see it day to day. My team deals with it day to day. We have areas in our institution that want to start to use AI tools, but we're not quite ready maybe in some cases. So there's work we need to do. And I'm sure you're all confronting that as well in your organizations. The other pillar in here, or the other corner, is data. You might have heard a few years ago the term data is the new oil, and it really is. And it's a global competitive advantage as well. And I'm going to talk a bit about what some of the threat actor activity we're seeing from nation states. And that data isn't just where one might have thought about, or your board's asking you about, are they going to take your data out of your organization? Sometimes the imperative is take your data, feed their AI engine in another country for global espionage or competitive global market advantage or warfare. So we're seeing this day to day, and we hear that from our Canadian Centre for Cybersecurity and CSIS as a really critical area. And data doesn't stay in borders. Data doesn't stay in the borders of our companies, our organizations, whether you're in private sector, public sector. Data all matters because it's the same citizen that's using their device, might be buying stuff on Amazon, but they're also a student learning at McMaster or they work at Mac. So we need to all care together about that. The next is digital economy. Our economy has changed rapidly and hopefully continues, especially in Canada, in a really positive direction. And I really anchor to that of why this group coming together is so important, is we can only be economically strong if we have a good, stable, safe economy for people to do business and citizens feel safe, and we can economically thrive as a country. Cybersecurity can be an Achilles heel. And you can see every day on the news, another organization, another entity being attacked. I live in Hamilton. We're in the news, city of Hamilton. They're undergoing some pretty dramatic things right now. And so that's really important for us to think about. Technology's in everything. It's not going away. It's not changing. And we're all one economy in this room together as we work. And the last is the speed of compute, quantum computing and other types of technologies. And we're just going to continue to see this rapidly moving. So don't want to scare you and all doom and gloom before dinner, but A little bit more of that. So our global environment, so the global environment in which we're working and threat actors are operating too, are very impacted by what's happening with activities in other countries. So we saw activity happen during COVID with the Michaels and Michael in Canada, impacted from what was going on in China. We see what's happening in Ukraine with the conflict with Russia, what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in many parts of the world. We have the US elections coming up as well. So that also has a huge impact on what's happening in cybersecurity. In Canada, we're supporters, we're allies. And we got cautioned a number of years ago from CSIS to watch for attacks to Canadian critical infrastructure. Well, why? Because of retaliatory efforts by nation states, because we partner and support and fund as members of NATO and the United Nations. And we have greater and greater and greater diversity. And I see that growing and that next generation coming up. As a person who has been working for a long time, I want to create an environment in which the next generation can thrive. And it's a welcoming environment and where we're bringing people into the profession who come from all different backgrounds. So I'm here now today in this, but I started out in political science. So, I didn't start out with my hands on keyboards. I started out in a little bit of a different way. And I think that's vital because we need communicators, we need connectors, we need strategists. We also need hardcore tech people who can put their hands on keyboards and run wires, cables, work in the cloud, very, very vital. And so creating that work environment for a diverse up-and-coming generation who also have very different workforce expectations is vital. And I'd like to see people move around. Go work in the private sector, go work in the public sector, go work in healthcare. You can learn a lot, and we're all one network and community. And that's how I know a lot of folks here, because I've crossed paths in many ways, and we still stay super connected. So with that, I'll share a little bit about what I've been seeing directly. And at the very top, and I know it's a bit of an eye chart for those in the back, and happy to share any slides after, but we see what we typically see are compromised accounts, exploited vulnerabilities, brute force attempts, command control activities. We're all seeing these kind of threats pounding at our environment that we deal with, phishing, spear phishing, spoofing, and now we're seeing a lot of AI-driven activity that's coming at us, and we can see it, we can tell. What's happening, though, underneath, and these are the conversations I have with my leaders, academic leaders, my board, and others, is they typically will jump to, well, is it ransomware? Do we pay or not pay? Do they have our data? Do they not have our data? That might not be what they're after. What they're often after is interrupt our operations. Corporate espionage, global espionage, they want your data. So they may pull your data, but it's not because they're going to put it up on the internet and embarrass you. It's because they want that information to feed their AI engine for competitive advantage. They want to disrupt your operations. And I was talking to one of the leading breach coaches from one of the law firms in Canada, and he said that is about 90% of what they're seeing are disruption of operations when there are cyber attacks. It's not the data they're after. They're after creating enough pain so you'll pay. So stop your operations, make it hard to work. And we've had our own experiences. And why, though? Why? What's their motivation? Who are they getting paid by? Because they've got a reason. They're entrepreneurs, threat actors. They want to make their money somehow. Well, a lot of times they're being paid by others. It's not they're trying to get the money from you. They're getting paid by nation states, activist groups to create destabilization in your economy. Think about if you can destabilize local governments, provincial governments, hospitals, healthcare, municipal infrastructure, payment systems, and the kind of havoc that can cause and the mistrust and distrust of communities. And we all saw what happened in Ottawa a while ago with the occupation and the kind of destabilization that created. Then if you compound that with the kinds of activities that were happening in the US and social media around that, it's quite scary. And it's an environment that us as Canadians and us who live and work here, we want to have a good, stable economy, a good, stable environment where we can raise our kids or go do all the fun things that we want to go do. And cybersecurity and us coming together to create a good, stable, cyber-resilient environment is vital and important. So enough doom and gloom as we go into dinner, and not all is not lost because we're here today. And we all talk to each other, and we all reach out and help each other out. And I really hope coming out of today, and my call to action up there, to everybody is let's get doing some hard work together. Let's work on filling the talent gap. There is a talent gap, and it can be filled with people with all sorts of backgrounds. So let's do some stuff. There's talk of mentorship. There's other things we can do. I sit on program advisory committees at colleges. I work with the K-12s, bringing STEM programs in, hackathons, things like that. There's lots we can do. We also have a policy gap, I really believe, in Canada, and as a political scientist as well, I would say is I think we have an opportunity to bring a voice together as a community as we engage with our federal and provincial partners. I've been talking with them quite a bit from my past colleagues about the things we can do together. So are there things that we can do to share threat intel and do it in a way that, as we talk about in the higher ed sector, our TLP, REDS, and our Chatham House rules, can we do that across sectors? Why can't we do that across sectors? Get early warning, get early resiliency, and maybe there's some funding that we can partake of to help us do some of this good work to support our economies. You can only imagine how much it's costing the city right now back home as their services are down, and we all see that in our communities. So I think there's some work we can do, right? White papers, get some issues, some problem statements, and let's work with our federal and provincial colleagues to see what we can do. I talk to the CISO in Ontario regularly to see what we can do in Ontario at least. We have a collaboration gap, and that's what this group is working to fill, where we can really look at practical, tangible things we can do together. Can we leverage some technologies that if we're down somewhere, somebody else is hosting our backup and recovery environment? Could be anybody. Let's do that. Why couldn't we do that? And I know there's money, you got to work in operational processes, but I think there's some great collaborative opportunities we could undertake working with our vendor partners that are here tonight, working across our industries. And then an innovation gap. So how can we go to the next level? How can we skip where we're at today and jump a few steps ahead to make us more cyber resilient and explore innovations? So with that, last slide is a couple of things. We're here, it's community, it's collaboration and connections. So let's take that forward and keep having open discussions and have forums to do that, and whatever I can do to contribute to the community to help foster that. Let's work on curated discussions, get stuff on paper, get some stuff in writing. We did some of that in higher ed around cyber insurance. We came together in higher ed, got into a dialogue, and feeling we're in a much better place now with the cyber insurance community. I think we, as this community, can tackle some of those things. And then let's collaborate and connect and do some practical, tangible things like mentorship programs, threat intel sharing, other things that we can maybe do as a community. So with that, that's it. I'm done. So I'm around if you have any questions. Thank you.